Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Xinfin Network, aka XDC. So let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. At the current moment in time, it's about almost 5 a.m. The market is looking, pretty stable. We are seeing Celsius absolutely tearing through this market, up 365% on the 7-day span. Absolutely ridiculous right now. The shorts are getting squeezed on Celsius. But we also do see some other altcoins up, 100%. For an example, storage is up 103%, synthetic 65%. Some of these altcoins are up massively. Now, um, after the recent news with Q&T with XDC, I think that it really kind of opened a lot of individuals' eyes to where XDC basically is positioned. And I think that when we talk about, Xinfin, making new millionaires, if you will, or making individuals rich, I do think that this is one of those tokens that we have an incredible opportunity ahead of us with. Not only from like the circulatory, supply. Like if we actually look at the circulating supply compared to like XRP or even XLM, tokenomic wise, like we are actually way better than a lot of those, projects. And when we really kind of look at the overall viewpoint on XDC and we actually look at what they are focused on, I mean, it's a very large market with a ton of ROI ahead of it. I actually kind of compare XDC to XRP during like 2017, 2018, and I've said it many, many times as well in the past. Like, XDC is truly in a perfect position, not only from like an investor standpoint, but also a company standpoint. What we do see are millionaires will be made from XDC in time. The amount of connections being made just within the trade finance sector alone is enough. And basically, when we look at what XDC is doing currently within this market, it is disrupting over $19 trillion, but it's also in many other markets as well. You look at like supply chain, for an example. It could be within the supply chain standards. We know that it is getting into cross-border, payments with Impul as well, which is ISO 222 compliant as well. And XDC has many use cases behind it, even NFT use cases. So when we talk about where XDC actually is positioned, it is probably one of the most bullish assets out there, sitting right next to XRP, XLM, HBAR, etc. So definitely pay attention to XDC. And we do see our trade finance is a $19 trillion yearly market. A digital asset is being positioned for a leading role in it with a market cap of $400 million. And at the current moment in time, yes, it has a $400 million market cap, 1.2 billion fully diluted. When we really kind of look at this and compare and contrast, it truly is something remarkable. And a lot of people will say, like, anyone think, that it sounds too good to be true? Like, a lot of individuals will say that, but when you actually look at where we are in this market, it's going to take time for this to truly actually be positioned, perfectly for this. For an example, trade finance is ripe for disruption. We've mentioned it multiple times on this channel, but when you look at where XDC actually is positioned with regulations, things are kind of moving slow in that area. But once we do see regulatory clarity around crypto, that's where a large amount of these use cases truly do shine. And I do think that when we really look at XDC going forward, I think that ISO 222 coming out in November is going to be the spark that lights the flame for a large amount of these utility gems. And I definitely will say, like, that's the moment in time where you really want to be paying attention. I've shared with you guys multiple times in the past the diagrams on XDC, and shout out to this crypto user as you guys, or this Twitter user as you guys do see here, post incredible crypto diagrams. But we do see here Xinfin, XDC Network, XDC, XDPOS Consensus Protocol, 2K TPS transactions per second, with a fraction of a cent price per transaction, and then 2 seconds settlement time, World Trade Finance. And here you have the diagram of how this basically will work. So you look at Xinfin with all of the connections, not only to ISO 222, but you also do see like utility, acts as a settlement mechanism for dApps on the Xinfin hybrid blockchain, not only on the Xinfin blockchain, but also even on R3 Corda. And you could also see like all of the other use cases around this. You also do see XDPOS, delegated proof of stake, stakeholder approved voting on consensus issues, near zero gas fees basically, and allows microtransactions equipped with KYC, know your customer enforcement, reduces energy consumption by 1/10. So yeah, when we really kind of look at the diagrams, it really does open your eyes to things. And of course, in terms of trade finance, digitizing those trade documents, here is TradeFinix. We've talked about TradeFinix as a massive giant. You do see the connections on the left there. Intuit, QuickBooks, Corda, TradeShift, and this is basically how this all works. It's all powered by XDC. You do see interoperable with trade finance digitization platforms, XDC, Xinfin digital contract, digital asset, liquidity against multi-fiat for instant settlement, liquid against USD, GBP, JPY, and AEC. P2P decentralized platform for trade finance originators to distribute deals with bankers and non-banker funds or funders. Sorry, and yeah, I mean, when we look at this at a $19 trillion market, and you really kind of look at all of the other projects within the Xinfin ecosystem, for an example, XSwap protocol, which is going to be the power source, if you will, behind this in terms of like the glue that really kind of holds it all together. Like XSwap protocol is a decentralized exchange similar to Uniswap that is built on Xinfin that will allow for swapping of tokens between the Xinfin ecosystem. It's also going to open the doors for many other things as well. For an example, you can see everything within this entire diagram where XSwap protocol basically is the center point for a large amount of this. So yeah, definitely look at this, and also this is a major bridge within like the entire ecosystem for XRC20 tokens. But also you do see over here, here is the major connections to trade tech. I know that this is a little overwhelming for you individuals out there, but definitely pay attention to this, as we do see direct connections, for an example, to Swift, to some of the largest banking giants out there within the trade financial area. You do see like Standard Chartered, HSBC, for an example, Santander. These are large entities around the banking and financial scene, but it really kind of proves the point where like we look at how large the connections could actually be within the trade finance area and how massive it is compared to like for an example like cross-border payments, right? It will all be connected, and these are specific tokens that are designed relatively due to these areas of main focus. Like Xinfin's major use case is digitizing trade documents, tokenizing trade documents. And the reason why that's such a major area to look at right now is because of where we basically are within digitization of almost everything and tokenization of almost everything. Now also in regards to a diagram, here is the description on Xinfin, so you guys can read this if you want. But what I'm really kind of focused on is this. XDC is ISO 222 regulatory compliant and ready for the new messaging standards that will revolutionize international trade and finance, a highly liquid marketplace with trillions in traded capital. The reason why I bring this back up and the reason why I talk to you guys about it is because when we really kind of look at ISO 222 from a messaging standard, standpoint, yes, it's going to revolutionize many markets, and it's going to allow tokens like XDC within its, standard, industry, which is trade finance for the most part. That's their main focus point. That's their bread and butter, if you will. To truly be recognized and utilized properly. And that's where you really will see the value of the token itself be unlocked. That's where you will see the value also going up massively. Now, I also want to talk to you guys about this. So, first off, we do see over here, banks need fintechs to stay in the game. This goes back to June 21st, basically today. Banks have long been struggling to keep pace with the ever-changing demands of their corporate trade customers. In the recent years, those customers have been, more demanding, more sophisticated, and more mobile. They now expect their banks to provide them with the same level of service and convenience that they receive from lending online retail companies. In response, banks have been investing heavily in developing their own digital capabilities. However, they have been largely unsuccessful in meeting the expectations of their customers. The problem is that banks are not digital native companies, and they are therefore not able to move at the same pace as the fintechs that are disrupting the financial services industry. And we do see down here, this is the area that I want to focus on. So, delivering a revolutionary digital user experience. Through Trade Portal as a service solutions, banks are now able to allow their trade customers to not only conduct transactions, but over time be able to fully handle directly from single port portal, application advising, as well as utilization of electronic documents. The reason why I bring this up, so this is basically like, if you will, a competitor to Xinfin. But the reason why I bring this up is I'm not actually worried about this because, again, the efficiencies of the token itself over here in terms of like security and all that is unmatched by any projects like this. And we've actually talked about this with, for an example, like XRP. We talk about it with like HBAR when like you see some other use case kind of come out within that area's focus point, and you can kind of compare and contrast the overall viewpoints on them, together. Technologically, like again, you look at assets within the crypto industry, and they're unmatched by any traditional use cases that are being built to revolutionize, if you will, a lot of these industries. They're actually just taking a small step forward instead of a large step forward with something like crypto tech. And we do see here, these are the top priorities large banks are considering as they future-proof their trade finance communications. And these are some of the factors that have nudged financial institutions to pursue solutions from external vendors. And their main priority, wow, I can't talk, is facilitating digital trade services. And this will be the support of digital trade and utilizing innovative fintechs to build fast, future-proof solutions as well. This is why I want to really kind of focus on things around this area, because when you really kind of look at the issue that we are, facing today, we're still utilizing paper documents in the year 2022. It's insane to me. And of course, this goes to break down everything around this and why, this is a main area to focus on from not only, a revolutionizing standpoint, but also just from the banks themselves. I mean, banks are, really kind of falling behind, the curve of adoption, if you will. But also, we do see over here why trade finance should embrace blockchain to realize its digital ambitions. The digitization of the trade finance sector is long overdue. The need to obtain and effectively process trade data has never been more pressing, not only for banks and financial institutions, but for the corporates, businesses, and other supply chain participants they serve. The reasons for this are manifold. Firstly, trade partners require faster processing speeds, which can only be achieved through a more digital approach and independence from paper documentation. Secondly, supply chains are in desperate need for stability after 2 years of pandemic disruption. Furthermore, there's a greater focus on providing practical solutions to the industry's evolving environmental, social, and governance (ESG) requirements and help address the climate emergency. Funny thing about this is that all of this is really kind of tailored to what XDC is focused on: low fees, built for real-world use cases, energy efficient, speed and capacity, security, unique, ease for use for institutions as well. Like XDC is the trade finance area's greatest asset right now, if you will. But they do continue to go on about the technological advancements, and they are also talking about the next step. Making blockchain technology and data handling much more accessible to market participants is an important next step in the digital evolution of trade finance. And yes, I think that when we look at this, also they are mentioning the ICC, International Chamber of Commerce, which has direct connections to Xinfin. You also do see like all of like the APIs down here, like API connections. You also do see like URDTT, which is Uniform Rules of Digital Trade Transactions. A large amount of these major names here are already, working with or connected to, Xinfin in some sort of way through, for example, Andre Casterman. But yeah, when we talk about like the clear connections or the clear innovations around trade finance, like it all really kind of brings me back to Xinfin. And things are being ushered in, things are being streamlined. Like this goes back to June 13th, for an example, so only a few days ago. When we really kind of look at this market and we look at where we are headed, I do believe that XDC will be in the top 10 at least. Right now, it is sitting at number 82. We have less than a $400 million market cap, 1.2 billion fully diluted. In my opinion, a 10x on this to roughly, 30 cents would be nothing. I'm looking at least like a 100x opportunity on XDC, long term, and it could even happen short term depending on your time frame on short and long term. To me, like long term is a year plus, short term is like less than a year. So to me, Could this happen in the short term? A 100x opportunity. It all depends on the market sentiment and the situational advantages that, again, Xinfin is really trying to push in regards to like the boundaries around trade finance within the November timeframe of ISO 222, launching. That's where I'm really kind of focusing on. Is just like what happens in the November timeframe. We also have to realize like, we still are kind of behind on regulatory demands around crypto. So regulations will definitely help a lot of these, major assets be utilized properly, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, after you all have a beautiful day or beautiful night, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.